All right, take number 2. My brother was kind enough to let me use his phone because mine's a piece of fucking shit. I was 12 minutes in. 12-minute video. It was turning out pretty good. And bang, ran out of storage. Even though I had plenty of storage, but I don't know. I guess I'll quit bitching about it. So today, I figured I'd show you what I did for the exhaust on the 1982 Ford F-150 4.9 liter inline 6. This is an awesome truck. We love it quite a bit. The inline 6 isn't the most powerful engine in the world, but it is reliable and it does get good fuel economy for what we use it for. So that being said, I guess let's get into the video. First thing I did this quite a while ago, was I replaced the intake and exhaust manifold gaskets. It was ticking like crazy on the exhaust side because fumes were coming out. And then it started whistling because it was sucking air in. Anytime you let off the throttle, it would just start whistling like a son of a bitch. Part of it was the carburetor, but most of it was the manifold gasket. And then it started misfiring, and then this, that, and the other thing. So I replaced that, and surprise, surprise. Are they knocking on the window at me, or? I'm not sure. Somebody's trying to get my attention inside the house, but I guess they'll have to come out and talk to me because I'm paying attention to this right now. So, and I'm paying attention on killing these fucking bugs. So anyway, I replaced the gasket, and because this is an old 42-year-old cast iron fucking hunk of crap that's gone through a lot of heat cycles, it cracked there, and it cracked back there. So there's a couple cracks in this manifold, so it still has the tick, 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 which pisses me off. But what you gonna do? I'm the fucking broke youper, and I don't have the money for a new manifold right now. Eventually, we are gonna put an Offenhauser intake on here, and one of the EFI exhaust manifolds. But anyway, for now, this is working fine. So, a piece of advice. That right there, those bolts, that one and the one on the other side, I'm getting really sick of these fucking bugs, man. They're pretty difficult to get to from underneath the truck. So what I recommend is, if you ever do replace this, or just really replace your exhaust in general, but especially if you're taking the manifolds off, cut the pipe kind of right down there, where I did. Although if you can, and I cut it short because it was rusty, there were rust holes in the pipe. So I would have liked to have cut it a little bit longer, but I had to cut it kind of short. So that's what I did. I couldn't find that down pipe online. I could have taken it to a exhaust shop and had them bend a new one, but I didn't do that. Didn't really need to either, I guess, but didn't end up doing it. So one thing I will say is, and I've already said, I'd cut it down there, and then when you pull the manifold, pull it with that. Get some kind of help because that's really heavy. Not the downpipe, but just the whole, because that comes off as one whole system. The intake and the exhaust manifolds come off as one system. And it's heavy. You definitely feel it, especially when you're trying to pick it up, you know, up to like this level to get the pipe out of there, and you're trying not to get your pipe wrapped up in your starter cable or any of that shit. It's not an easy job, so be careful doing that, because it's not easy either way. I mean, depending on who you are, some people might find it easier to do it from underneath the truck, but as a 200-pound lard ass with fucked up shoulders and bad wrists, it was easier for me to just do it the heavy way rather than the contortionist way. So yeah, it's pretty much time to get underneath the truck now, and I'll kind of show you what I did, how, and why. It's kind of a cobble job a little bit, but it's the best cobble job I've ever done. And the reason I did that was because these auto parts stores around here fucking suck, and it takes some months to get anything in stock. So this pipe here, as I say, it was all rusted. It was crushed up. The previous owner, this got busted by a stump. So every time you measure it, every spot you measure it in, you get a different measurement. It's supposed to be a 1 7/8 inch pipe, to my knowledge. I almost don't like this new phone. It picks up how shaky my hands are. But anyway, what I did was I did a 1 7/8 connector, actually. And then this, I think, is a 1 7/8 to 2 inch. And then this is a 2 to 2 1/4. And then that goes into a 2 1/4 inch outside diameter pipe that goes back there, and I'll get there in a minute. But part of the reason I say to be careful, because this is bent, so, you know, it's, I mean, supposed to be bent. It's the way it's made. So that being said, this probably is crappy footage here because I'm not used to this phone, for one, and for two, it's just hard to film anything underneath here. And the bugs are just fucking insane. But anyway, this was pretty oval shaped, so that was part of the reason I did that. There is still a leak up in there. As you can see, there's kind of some gaps. These freaking mosquitoes are just hellacious. But so there's a bit of a leak there. I gotta get this welded up, but I haven't done it yet. This pipe was kind of hanging down, so what I did was I pushed it up with the jack and hooked these up, and then had this pipe resting on the cross member. Son of a bitch. Had the pipe resting on the cross member to hold this up, and it does a good job. So now, to get away from some of these fucking bugs, for one, and for two, to explain more, we come back to the first muffler I have. This is a Walker Quiet Flow, part number 210, or part number or model number 21028. Let me try and hold the phone a little different here. 21028. I did a review on this muffler. I highly recommend you check it out. It's only a couple videos ago. Do I really think it deserves the name Quiet Flow? No, not exactly. It's really not that quiet. It's a straight through design. It's basically a glorified glass pack. You know, it's just a straight through muffler. But so I hooked it up just to see what it would sound like, because I figured I'd get a review of it and was planning on sending it back, which I tried, and that was just a pain in the ass. I could have done it, but these auto parts stores around here fucking suck, man. That's the one downside of living in the UP of Michigan. The only decent fucking auto parts store there is in this whole fucking part of the state is over in Newberry. The rest of them just suck fucking dick. But anyway, I got that out of my own stupidity. It was $107. To my surprise, it was way quieter than I expected it to be. But it really still wasn't all that quiet. So I tried to take it back and get a different one. Every time I found a muffler that I liked, I'd call them. They'd say, oh, well, we can't get that one in. Well, we can't get that in. And then you'd try and order it somewhere online, and it wouldn't be here for a month and a half. So I said, fuck that. It's time for a new plan of attack. So feel free to check out this video of this muffler. Would I buy another one again? I'm not so sure. But it was $107, which is pretty expensive for the amount of muffling that it does. But it is stainless steel. It won't rust out. And there is absolutely no drone. When I ran it in one of my other videos that you can find, I didn't have any tailpipe hooked up. It was just hanging there and cut off, just dumped right there before the axle. And it was definitely bearable. I just think these inline sixes, I dare you to find me a 6-cylinder engine of any kind, any 6-cylinder engine that sounds good. I don't think you can do it. The best sounding one's a 3.1 liter multi-port V6 that came in the old school, the first gen W bodies from GM. And even that doesn't really sound great. It's just, it doesn't sound bad. This doesn't sound as good as those. So we want this truck silent, but the main reason we drive this truck with the inline 6 is because it gets good fuel economy. There's not a lot of power, so we didn't want a super restrictive muffler. I could have just gone with an OEM muffler, but I didn't want to do that because they're restrictive. They cost you a bit of power. These fucking bugs are just going insane. The last time I did this video, it was fine. I suppose nothing can really go right for me now that I have a phone that hopefully isn't going to die on me. Now I'm getting swarmed by these fucking things. So anyway, the reason why I kept this, for one, just the hassle and everything, but mainly why I got this instead of an OEM replacement is because this said OEM sound, which was a fucking lie. I'm not sure what, maybe on a muscle car or something. I would imagine this would sound really good on like an old Lincoln or something that you want to have a little bit of rumble but mostly be quiet. It's not a bad muffler. There ain't no drone, but it's, I don't know. I don't think it's earned the name Quiet Flow. So what I have hanging it up here is this. And it looks a little flimsy, but I tell you what, this is actually a pretty good way to go. And I say that because the actual hangers have these little rubber bushings in them. Well, for one, you can see where the cross member is and everything. It would have been hard to get the muffler up here under the cab without it vibrating on the bottom of the cab. Sorry, my hands keep getting in the way. I'm swatting at bugs. But it would have gotten in the way under the cab, and then there's really no other way to hook up an actual exhaust hanger, for one, and then for two, as I stated, the rubber bushings in them over time go out, and then they start to rattle and vibrate. Yeah, this can give you a bit of vibration, but you can always tighten it down a bit more, and that was what I did. It's also stainless steel, so it's not going to rust as quickly as it looks like it will. It's not as flimsy. It's a lot easier to work with. I know it looks like the cheap way of going, but honestly, I gotta recommend this stuff. It's only like $6 for a roll of it, and it's easy to work with. Have somebody helping you though, because at least in my situation, because of you can't really see it, but because the pipe up there, as I mentioned before, be careful about how you route your down pipe. Because it was turned off to the side for me, and I just kind of pried it back. But this was wanting to float way over here by the drive shaft. So what I did was I used once again a jack, and then just pulled under my own strength to got it to pull over, and that was pretty difficult. I recommend getting some help for that. But this is really a good way to hang it up. So, and then I don't know if I mentioned, but I know it sounds like I'm talking shit about that walker, but it really does come down to personal preference. If you want something that's audible but not loud, see, I don't even want this truck to be audible. I don't want to hear it like at all. You know, the tire noise, the bit of the manifold tick, which I don't want to hear that either, but unfortunately I have to for a while. But anyway, if you want your truck to be audible but not loud, that actually is a great muffler, and I highly recommend it. But if you really, you know, if you say, oh, it's, you know, look and see that it says quiet flow and that's what you want, try and find a different one, because that one's really not all that quiet. These fucking mosquitoes, man. Son of a bitch. So anyway, after that, I ran a little bit of tailpipe going to the secondary muffler, which I'll get to in a second. I know that it looks a little bit low, and that's because it is only a couple inches away, but this truck, and that one's not going right now, but when that truck is going, that's what we use for all the heavy hauling. This never really hauls any more than about 1,200 pounds. Hi people, how you doing? What's up? These are some of the friendliest chickens I have ever known. But so anyway, the idea is that instead of one quiet, restrictive muffler that hurts your fuel economy and takes power that I don't have to lose, I figured I'd run two free-flowing mufflers and see what that does, with the hopes of it making this truck quite quiet. And it was actually right. Another thing, like I said, I think I said on this one, I have another video. I did a whole review on that muffler. Definitely check it out. I also did a review of the Thrush Turbo here. That is a Thrush Turbo. I will likely call it a welded at some point, but it is a Thrush Turbo. I'm more used to running the Thrush welded, so that's what I run on most things, so I keep calling it that. The Turbo is a little bit quieter than the Thrush welded. This video is getting kind of long. I should try and wrap it up here pretty quick, but anyway, we got two mufflers that on their own make some noise, and you put them together, and it's still a free-flowing exhaust. It isn't, it's not restrictive. It doesn't hurt your fuel economy. It doesn't take power that, in my case, I don't have any power to really lose. And overall, it's going pretty good. And then we come back here, and I have some more of that stuff hanging it up. And by the way, that seems like it would be flimsy, but I try and shake it around, and I guess I could tighten that down a little more, but I could tighten that down quite a bit more. All right, I'll have to do that, but really, it's pretty solid. And then that looks all bent and everything. So the reason this hitch here, the bar for the hitch kind of gets in the way. So I wanted to run the exhaust out this side like, you know, a normal fucking human being. But I had all this extra pipe that I didn't want to go to waste. I don't really have anything else that runs 2 1/4 inch pipe. Maybe I'll explain why I went with 2 1/4 inch in another video or something. By the way, this is going to be a 2-parter. I'm going to get a driving video of it later. But I hooked this up, and this pipe was hanging really low, like kind of right down, not really low, but a little bit lower, and was pointed more towards the ground. So I grabbed that jack handle, shoved about 1 foot of it up in here, and tried to bend this, because supposedly this is bendable pipe. Bendable pipe my fucking ass. But it did bend it in there. So that's why it kind of looks all jank like this. But really it ends up working out. And this is pretty fucking stable. So overall, that's really what I did, how I built this exhaust. Hey, yeah, there she is. Maybe here in a minute she can hold the camera while I fire this up. I'm gonna get an actual driving clip of this later, but for now, I think we're just gonna fire it up so you can hear what it sounds like at idle. And I'll give it a little bit of a rev, because the truck isn't warmed up. But I did start it yesterday, and it's like 72 out, so it's by no means a cold start. But, so anyway, I'm gonna hand the camera over if you wanna stand about right back here. And I'll get this thing fired up. You can hear what it sounds like. It's a little louder when you first fire it up, but once it idles for a minute, it mellows right out. So, as you can hear, it is quite quiet. As mentioned before, there is still a bit of an exhaust leak. I have to have it welded up. Got some kind of black spider now attacking me. But, yeah, it's a pretty good system. It's pretty quiet. I mean, it's a 40-year-old truck with an inline 6. It's gonna make some noise no matter what you do. But overall, I think I'm pretty much gonna cut the video out here. I will get a part 2 a little bit later, and so stay tuned for that. As mentioned before, if you have any questions about the mufflers themselves, I already got a couple videos of the mufflers individually. Well, I don't have a review of what the Thrush Turbo sounds like by itself on this engine, but there are other really good videos out there other people have done of that Thrush Turbo on these engines, on these trucks with these engines. And the turbo on its own, I mean, yeah, it's more of a performance muffler. It makes some noise, but it's not obnoxious. Just cruising, it's quite quiet. And then with the two of them together, that's the only downside about the Thrushes, is that they have a bit of drone. But with that Walker Quiet Flow, which doesn't drone, coming into the Thrush Turbo, there's no drone whatsoever. So that's gonna be it, I think. I'll show you what it sounds like in the cab here real quick. We'll shut the windows up. You can hear how quiet it is inside the truck. Not that these old F-150s have any kind of padding. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I built the exhaust on the 1982 Ford F-150 with a 4.9 liter. Damn. A 4.9 liter Ford inline 6. She's pretty quiet. I'm happy with it. It's you really don't hear it when you're just cruising down the road, and it still gets about 22 miles a gallon. It doesn't have any less power than it did just running open manifolds. It doesn't have any more, but you know, this thing's only had about 125 horsepower factory anyways. But so yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. We're gonna get a driving video and you guys will be able to hear what it sounds like going down the road. So thank you.